Carmen Clemperens, joined by Mason Clark. This is brought to you by Star City Games, and we have Kate Chelberg on Mardu Hollow One kicking us off with an untapped Blood Crypt and a Ragavan.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that Ragavan has been a great way to sort of, start to snowball games, and the Hollow One deck does take advantage of, that mana jumping ahead with treasures quite well compared to a lot of decks.
And look at this. This is almost in some ways the MH3 Ragavan, right? This is Fetch, Shock Breeding Pool, Tamio over on Ryan's side.
Yeah, I mean, Tamio has been a big player and, supplanted Ragavan in these Breach decks. In MH2 metagame, it was Ragavan that was playing with Breach, sort of read for your Ambers, right, and then allowed you to have a bit of a fair game plan in sort of the tempo-y side. Well, Tamio's, replaced that now and sort of plays the controlling role and blocks Ragavan quite nice as we see that happen live.
Oh, okay, and look at this. Bowmasters finishes off Tamio.
Yeah, great play there from Kate. Sort of looks like I'm chump checking you.
It's so funny. It's just like, first you go, all right, I'll send a message, and then you go, okay, well, I guess I'll make the block I'm supposed to. Oh, wait.
Get got.
Doink.
Yeah, and I think Bowmasters is a big part of what is really nice about this Hollow One deck. One, Burning Inquiries, we're going to see bop, bop, bop upstairs, and we're going to have a big army. It's going to get out of control really quickly. And two, Bowmasters is just a card that is strong, and there's a decent amount of card draw going on in this format.
It's pretty nice.
And imagine Ketramos, now your cards cost 2 life per thing. That's pretty big.
2 life and some sizing on your opponent's creature. It's not like the amass is nothing.
Definitely.
Speaking of, here is that Orc army that Kate has begun to amass. Fetch land from Ryan. Hits the graveyard pretty quickly. Looks like it's going to be a fetch shock angle.
Yeah, typically want to get your first red. You want to get your Temur mana set up.
Right.
And then you sort of start doing whatever you need to do.
We've seen players already this weekend struggle whenever they couldn't find, say, their red source to cast Breach, where they have the combo rolled up, except for the most important part of putting Underworld Breach on the table.
Yeah. Got to file that paperwork first before you can go through it.
Everyone's favorite thing.
Speaking of which, Trigger, Grinding Station enters.
You can't scoop yourself when you say it. That's...
Why, whatever do you mean?
Wow. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. This is like skipping directly to Triple Dog Dare or something. The social etiquette of daring. All right,
I know
fine.
exactly what you mean.
Mox Opal, back over to Kate.
I'm listening. I'm trying to do better. I was listening and not talking. And I was sitting with it, yeah, you know what, I did do wrong. But you know who didn't do wrong? This Nihil Spellbomb in the main deck. As we've seen a lot of players do things like this weekend to have, an advantage. And here's Burning Inquiries.
Oh.
I love this.
And you can see Ryan runs his hands through his hair and goes, oh, wait, and realizes what is about to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Ryan, if doesn't have interaction, is currently about to be at 3-ish life. And if there's a land bolt, well, that's game.
This is, by my math, a ton of damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's just occurring to me, too, that if we Burning Inquiry and we find that we might even have another one, but if there's an Inquiry Mountain left over at the end, then we do another 6. Yeah, that'll be game.
Right.
All right, now these players are going to roll a dice in order to determine randomly here. Looks like Kate has 5 and Ryan has 6. Thank goodness there wasn't a 7th.
All right. Big rolls, big rolls. We got a 4.
All right.
4, 1 through 5. Got a 3, got a 3. Do I hear a 4? We hear a 5. That's a re-roll. Got a 2.
All right. Now, looks like Pithing Needle, Underworld Breach, and Sink into Super were the hits.
And discarding the Breach. I mean, obviously there's a Nihil Spellbomb on the table, but if you're casting Grinding Station on 2, you obviously were planning on breaching pretty quick.
Yeah, and I was going to say, losing it might even be a situation where maybe Ryan has another one, right? But you got to play your bait copy first.
All right, and...
Ryan trying to use the dice to kill the Orcish Bowmaster. Knows he's going to kill him if he doesn't.
So close.
There we go.
Too many rerolls. All right, finally rolls the 2. Knocks out the second one.
Another Inquiry hit the graveyard.
And a land. Oh, and Flage.
Okay, all
and
right.
Flage. That's not a threat. That's a promise.
Yeah, as we do see 3 go upstairs with Kate's Bowmaster trigger. And, yeah, no land, no follow-up, it seems, at least in the main phase. We will have a treasure, but, yeah, down to 5.
All right, and Ragavan hits Flame of Anor. Fine to get it out.
Yeah, and it seems like we're just going to be a passing of the turn. Does have a bolt in hand.
Ooh. 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 Okay. The draw from Ryan did not look so promising. It was an Odawara, which is a pain-free land. Not very many of those, actually.
Yeah, it's surprisingly few in this Breach deck. But this hand is like Soul Guide Lantern, Boseiju.
Malevolent Rumble finds another Underworld Breach.
It's a good card, but Spellbomb checks it in play, let alone the mana issues.
Right, it's so tough because on one hand, it feels like you're just kind of sprinting towards a cliff, but on the other hand, you're probably not winning a fair game against a Bowmaster as a Ragavan and a 4/4. All right, so the Spawn comes out to play.
Yeah, and
Ryan rearranging some artifacts. I have a feeling a Bauble or a Mox Amber might be coming down to turn on Opal soon.
yeah, it looks like Ryan thinks that there's maybe something, but obviously the Spellbomb's in the way.
Right.
So Ryan's like, okay, I think I could get this, but there's a Spellbomb. Is there any way to get rid of the Spellbomb? I have this Boseiju in hand, but no real way to make the green mana and the red mana. This Mox has to do a lot of duty here.
Okay, Soul Guide Lantern goes after Flage. We know that that's not quite enough, but...
Yeah. It's something, though, you know.
All right.
So
All right.
It is a little interesting. We can play Underworld Breach, and then Kate has to pop the Spell Bomb in response. Otherwise, we could cast something if we had, like, mana. Maybe we float something with, like, a Mox or whatever. But I just don't think we have more mana. And I think that's the problem because we also don't have a card in the yard. Because if you had one extra, we could actually still combo through the Spell Bomb.
Okay, sure.
But
that's
we don't have the one in the yard. Is the
oh
problem.
my gosh.
So like, but I guess if it's a fetch turn, we die to the bolt. So Ryan's in. I think this is part of the reason too. I think Ryan's like, I'm really close to killing, and I could pop this Soul Guide Lantern. But if I pop the Soul Guide Lantern, I don't have my Mox Opal on.
Well, okay. Soul Guide Lantern also would draw a card.
Well, you have to spend the mana for that one.
Oh, I now understand what you're saying. Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
so,
that's on me. That's on me.
Yeah, so if you're trying to get the one card to start the combo, because we need one in order to cleanly do it here.
Okay. All right, so we see the Spawn hit the bin. Opal gets tapped. Breach hits the stack. And Kate cannot reach for Ryan's graveyard fast enough.
Yeah, I think Kate's also checking because I don't think Ryan has a Mox. So I think Kate knows I can maybe just, like, let this go and save the Spell Bomb in case somehow there's a way to stop it maybe.
Sure.
I don't think that matters too much. One of the things is that there's like a Bauble. That could make things a little awkward.
All right, so we see the station get tapped. Sack. Opal to the bin.
I like
Kate fetching.
So with what's happening here is it looks like Kate's going to get a black mana. So that Kate gets a card. Never going to pass the card up.
Love a card.
Love a card.
Love a card.
And then we're going to have no cards in the yard because we're going to pop the Spell Bomb. Then we'll mill 3. And with 3 cards in yard, we can't escape anything because there's no other spell.
Right, right. This was sort of what you were talking about when sacking the Soul Guide Lantern was to the grinding station. That's what I misinterpreted.
Oh,
because that keeps the Opal in play.
Correct, yes. But yeah, then you're still just not going anywhere fast. Yeah.
All right, the 3 cards. We see Thassa's Oracle, Mox. Oh, so close, yet so far.
Yeah, and now Ryan, I believe last card in hand's Boseiju. Could be an alternate card that I missaw, but I'm pretty sure it's Boseiju. And we're just facing down lethal on board, and no real way to get anything. You can pop this Soul Guide Lantern's own ability.
Okay.
And then escape the Amber. And I think, but the problem is you don't have
doesn't get you very. You lose your Thassa's, or you just break even the whole time, right? You don't have a way to go up mana.
Well, Ryan has the Jace, but yeah, it doesn't have a mana. So if there was another artifact in play, we could maybe get to a Mox Opal and maybe high roll variance our way into a victory.
Sure.
Right? And sort of have like the last card be this and get there. We know that's not the case here. And yeah, Ryan's come to that conclusion as well, as we're going to go on to game number 2.
That was fast.
It was very, I mean, basically a turn 4 kill from Kate, right?
Yeah.
And had there been a fetch land, it would have been a turn 3.
And something we're seeing a lot in Modern right now is people sort of splashing white for a bunch of sideboard hate against Breach specifically. I'm seeing 2 Stony Silences in Kate's sideboard. And that looked good game 1, but we also saw how close Ryan was to winning anyway.
Yeah, you need a lot of hate or a lot of pressure, and that is one of the good things about Kate's deck is provides a lot of pressure and has a lot of looks to find the hate. Obviously, sometimes you might discard it on accident, but you do have a lot of ways to find your move through your deck very quickly, and that's something that's very nice about this. So going to this, I imagine Kate's going to want her Nihil Spell Bombs, going to want the Stony Silence, going to want the Thought Seize potentially. Wear Tear's a great one. Thraben Charm's another good one. Sort of catches both halves of it, And I think we're going to want to see those things come in for her here. And the real question is, what is she going to trim off in the main deck to make room for it, But we'll have to see how she wants to play it. Something like Flage jumps out to me as probably a little small ball for what you're wanting.
Yeah, it's so funny to call Flage small ball, but really you're not trying to interact with creatures in a normal sense.
Yeah, we're trying to kill. Maybe we leave like 1 in our deck because we can move through it. Fair games occur, right? But I'm going to be interested.
A bunch of Arena of Glories in Kate's deck. So hitting the first one in your graveyard is so huge.
It's huge, too. But Arena of Glory also great with Hollow One.
True.
You're looting, get the Hollow One left
Oh,
behind.
wait, it's a non-bow if your Hollow One costs 0, right?
It is a non-bow if they cost 0,
Wow.
but to be so lucky to have a 0-cost Hollow One. Yeah. Meanwhile, Ryan, who's probably played this matchup a ton and tested a lot for it, has Flame of Anor, Nature's Claim, Aether Spellbomb, Boseiju, and Strict Serenade as cards that jumps out to me that are pretty good. I can even see Swan Song, honestly. I mean, he gets Artifacts, which hits the Hollow One and hits the Enablers. All things that can make a lot of sense.
All right, well, if you're feeling pumped about wanting to play some Magic after watching games like that one, you're going to want to join us at Spotlight Series Dragons in Denver.
That's right. It's going to be April 11th through the 13th. It's going to be sealed. It's going to be awesome. You can get all that information at starcitygames.com/SCGCon.
This is a return of competitive limited.
That's
This
right.
is something where even if you don't necessarily have like a huge collection or something like that, if you just want to play competitive Magic, here's where you go.
And it's going to be great. I mean, this set is, sort of the sequel to widely considered one of the greatest limited formats of all time. And, tons of her here.
I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that the unreleased set was widely considered one of the greatest sets of all
I'm saying
time.
it's a
Which,
sequel.
don't get me wrong. Let's not call it yet, but
Sure.
It's going to be sweet.
Yeah, and so I can't wait to see what happens there, and we'll have to check that out. I know the coverage team for that's going to be awesome. Patrick Sullivan, Maria Bartholi is 2 of the names.
God, those
It's gonna be
are
so good.
2 people on my coverage Mount Rushmore.
Yep. And we're going to have all that coming to you live here as well, wherever you're watching, so make sure to follow along.
All right, and looking at the sideboard, I do like Flame of Anor here, I think. It's something where it can check Hollow One, right, as well as take out another threat at the same time.
Yeah, you double Hollow One, I destroy an artifact, deal 5,
Right.
So definitely a really strong card here for that sort of thing. Also just sort of good at, popping a Nihil Spellbomb. Being able to maybe kill that there. And if you had a wizard, also maybe kill the army token. Could have been massive. So it's a really strong card. I think, Ryan's going to want to play a game that interacts a little bit, but also threatens the kill out of nowhere.
Right, and in a lot of ways, it feels like Game 1 is the one that Breach is really trying to get by being a hyperlinear combo deck most of the time before pivoting into something that's sort of playing both sides of being a grindy artifact engine deck and having that combo kill. But did not pick up Game 1, which makes this feel a little dicey.
Yeah, it's kind of like classic Affinity, honestly, in some ways, for people who used to play back then, where it's like you're kind of expected to win Game 1, and post-board, you fight through the hate.
Right. Like, anytime I play Dredge and lose Game 1, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm climbing up a cliff here.
Exactly. But, these players are finishing up their sideboarding here, and we're going to be very soon starting game number 2. This is round 7 for these players. Still 2 more to go.
You joked about it before on how much players have had a chance to prep for this. I believe this is Kate's 3rd time playing against Breach this event, and it really shows. Deck was presented immediately.
Had a
Just said,
plan.
all right, I know what cards to take out. Bad ones out, good ones in. Here you go, bud. Whereas Ryan's having to think a little bit harder. This isn't just Hollow One. I know we saw that earlier in the day, a more, say, Rakdos kind of traditional version of it. But this has a bunch of white cards in it. It is pretty different. This is something where if you're in Ryan's seat, you're kind of going, okay, well, normally my plan for this kind of went one way, but all of a sudden I have to have a bunch of, say, enchantment removal in my deck because I have to respect Stony Silence more.
Yeah, and that changes the dynamic a lot and what you might expect from coming out of something. So we have to see how Ryan adapts. But it looks like Ryan maybe took a mulligan. I was a little unclear on that. Maybe hadn't quite presented to cut yet. We'll see how this all goes here. But going into game number 2, Ryan on the play.
Can spot Matt Dragon Shields a mile away. I love that purple.
Proud sponsor.
Helping bring tabletop Magic to you.
You love to see it. As it looks like kind of a nice-ish hand.
You don't throw it back. Well, Kate throws hers back, but Ryan's pretty happy with his.
Yeah, and it looks like we have maybe the turn 2, definitely the turn 3. I see a station. I see a breach. I see some lands. I see a mox.
I see an opal.
Yeah.
That's basically the turn 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how many enablers we have. If we could turn 1 the station into turn 2 breach, with a fetch, you're gonna be good to go. We'll have to see here, but if there's a Saga on 1 as well, that's going to search something up on turn 3, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on Kate to have a card that matters or pressure.
And this is something that you've said a few different times, largely when we were covering Amulet Titan, but it is also very true about Grinding Breach. How bad can your matchup be if sometimes you just win on the second turn?
Yeah, if I can kill you on turn 2, let alone turn 3, I can only have such a bad matchup. As this looks like, Bauble is one of those, and Mox Amber. Okay, I thought that was maybe a Soul Guide Lantern. So here are those into turn 2 Grinding Station with Breach in hand. Ryan is sort of saying, go, have it.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, and trigger.
Trigger. Gonna mill and then untap it here.
That was slick. I think that's actually pretty slick because we saw how important it was to just have a raw quantity of cards in the graveyard.
And Kate is dead.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, Elegant Parlor surveils away a Nile Spellbomb. Urza Saga up to 2.
I'm double-checking. There's no surgicals. And, yep, you see Kate pick it up, and this is why. And you see a smirk there from Ryan.
Oh.
This is why Breach is so good. We can play the long games. We can play these very fast games. I can play the controlling game. I do it all.
Right. We've seen both halves of it throughout the day, right? We saw earlier where we saw players threaten to kill on turn 3. It gets stopped. We see a bunch of, say, all the grinding stations in their deck get surgicaled. And then they go on to win with 7/7 constructs.
Yeah. It's just a very common thing. And the deck used to be able to do this with Ragavan. It used to be turn 1 Ragavan. Kate plays a tap land. You connect, get a treasure, play your Amber. Boom, you've got the combo. Make it happen. But Opal really sped the deck up.
Okay, well, if you want to play kind of a more open field of Modern, you're going to want to join us for Magic Spotlight Secret Lair in Indianapolis.
Yep, May 30th through June 1st. You can check out all those details at StarCityGames.com/SCGCon. But it's going to be a blast. It's an open event, like we were saying. And, that means you don't have to have qualified. Today's event, you need to play some qualifying stuff to come out here in game. This one, come on out. Have a good time. We'd love to see you there.
Right, there's all kinds of stuff that's viable in Modern right now. Kate's deck, her making a great run so far, is shining proof that you can do a lot of different stuff in Modern these days.
Yeah, and, worth mentioning, Ryan had basically the best draw. You could turn 1, but, it's really hard to turn 1.
Sure. Yeah, you need 3 Mox Opals or something like that.
Exactly. So, if we're talking about realistic draws, that's Ryan's best draw.
Yep. All right, well, here is the Shock and Ragavan from Kate, which was a pretty good recipe for success round 1. Game 1, rather.
Yes, yeah, and, Ragavan's really nice in these spots, too, because not less at the card, it's about the treasure so we can develop another threat and interact. As it looks like Ryan's double-checking what we want to search up.
Oh, okay, there we go. I said, what are those 3 cards doing? Did he mulligan to 4?
That
fast?
I think we grabbed the fetch balls, and we were like, what do we need here?
Yep, that makes sense. All right, so Steam Vents is the get. Makes sense.
I am sensing something that will interact with Ragavan. Could be a Tameo. Could be a Bolt.
Oh, Tameo and Ragavan interacted game 1. I'll tell you that.
That's true. As it looks like Ryan does have Breach Grinding Station in hand with a Mishra's Bauble, but no Opal this time.
Ooh, I see a Nature's Claim as well. That can fight through some stuff.
Yeah, the Stony Silence is going to be a lot less effective there. Also, we keep talking about the hollow ones. We haven't seen them yet. If that hollow one gets turboed out, that's a great way to sort of clean it up and buy you a little time.
All right, so here's Bobble from Ryan, where now I feel like he has to choose, am I respecting Orcish Bowmasters or am I just getting my card now?
Yep. Also, does Ryan maybe want to try and set up a flip Tamio?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, ends up just getting his card, looks at the top of Kate's library.
By the way, I love this play from Ryan. Got game one with the Bowmaster, but knows it's right just to block here. Cannot afford to let the opponent get too much mana.
Oh, Marauding Mako. I got to talk about this between rounds all the time, talking about Aetherdrift pre-orders in Portland. Now it's on the battlefield in Hollow One. Oh, my love.
Yeah, Marauding Mako has been a big get for this deck. If you used to play back in the day, you know, we had some other one-drops. That
Flame Bladed Up was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. But keeping the counters is a huge difference, along with, you know, honestly, the cycling too. Being able to sort of, you know, redraw in the mid-game when you're sort of, you know, maybe medium-ish creature isn't very good anymore is a great way to maybe find your Stony or Wear Tear.
Yeah, one of the worst things was when you cast, say, like a turn 4 Burning Inquiry, and Burning Inquiry decides that you're keeping Flame Blade Adept.
Yeah, not where you want to be. Speaking of not where you want to be, if Kate doesn't have some interaction, this is kind of a precarious spot.
Yeah, Mox Amber hits the battlefield with an Urza Saga and a Grinding Station. Trigger.
And Ryan, you know, threatening to kill next turn, has a Soul Guide Lantern as well in hand. Will have to target one of his own cards. This enters.
Trigger. Yep, Soul Guide Lantern exiles Misty Rainforest from their own graveyard. Pass. Crack of a Tarn from Kate. Feeling like an elegant parlor. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
A little bit of surveil action.
Smooth our draw out.
It feels so good post-board, too, whenever you have the hate pieces. You're just, like, rubbing your hands together, going Stony Silence, Stony Silence, Stony Silence.
Bid my Detective Phoenix, draw Stony Silence.
Ooh, whew, whew.
As it looks like Kate likes what's on top, which is bad news for... Yeah, I see Ryan bit his lip a little there.
Yeah.
I love to watch the players when they're playing here. As we see a Faithless Looting.
Okay, cool. Oh, I love the Brothers War Commander deck version. That one looks so good.
Yeah, the greatest thief in the multiverse, Dak Faden. Hoping to help Kate steal this game. As it looks like double land discarded.
Okay, Mako gets bigger, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty great. You know, one of the big strengths of Faithless Looting in the past was sort of, you know, when you start to flood out in the mid-game, you turn your lands. Obviously, we'd rather hope to have more in the early game here. But Kate does have a Wear Tear in hand. So we have that up and a lot of pressure now as another Faithless Looting.
Okay, I really like this, actually. I just love the emphasis on pressure.
Yep.
Couple lands hit the bin, couple counters hit the Mako. Now, who's the Mako hitting? Oh, Street Wraith. Oh, Hollow One, Hollow One, Hollow One, Hollow One. Come on, all right.
Post-combat Hollow One, that's the best Hollow One.
It's still on the menu. 6 damage upstairs. Ryan to 11.
Yeah, this is, you know, Ryan here really wanted to make sure that there's not a Stony Silence or something coming down. Ryan feels like I maybe have this one here, but we know Wear Tear is in the hand for Kate. So the question is, can Ryan battle through that and still win this turn?
Right, this is the spot where whenever your opponent bins a bunch of lands with Faithless Looting, you kind of have this moment of, oh, maybe their hand's just awful.
Yeah, I mean, they had, you know, 4 lands or whatever. They could easily have 4 more.
All right. Ryan's drawn, and now this is the part that feels kind of the worst when you're sitting across from a combo player where you're going, well, I hope that thinking ain't because I'm dead.
Yeah, and here comes Underworld Breach. But of note, there's nothing to escape right away.
Sure. Okay.
Ryan, interesting. Moving to combat, gets the clue, can then sack the clue to the station with a trigger to untap.
Trigger.
As we do have Amber up, so it's possible we have like a Swan Song. You know, that's what we talked about, very reasonable to bring in here. So we're going to sack our Soul Guide Lantern. And then in response, Wear Tear.
Nice. All right, so Tear goes after Underworld Breach, and this is mid-combat with the Grinding Station tapped.
Ryan's thinking. The real question to me is Ryan thinking, do I still have this if I counter this, or uh-oh?
Yeah, right. If you counter this, you got to be positive.
Yeah, and this is often, too, why you'll see players try and, use their station beforehand so they can at least get the value from the breach. Even if it's just, maybe casting the bauble again, you at least have a little something.
Yep. All right, so station untaps, bends 3 lands for Ryan's trouble. And now all of a sudden, Ryan's facing down some real pressure, and Tamio is tapped.
Yeah, I mean, there's, 8 on the board right now. We're 1 Burning Inquiries away from victory.
There's 8 on the board, a couple lootings in yards, so in some ways there's 10 on the board.
Oh, true, yeah, flashback to looting.
Right, and if you hit a Street Wraith or anything, that's it.
Street Wraith, Bolt, yeah, lots of good draws here.
These games are so condensed.
Yeah, they
so much has happened, and Kate's untapping.
All right. You see head in hand here for Ryan as it looks like Faithless Looting is the start.
Oh.
All right, that's the 1-mana one. We thought we might have to commit 3 for the flashback, so that's good for Kate. And Ryan's picking up. Yeah, I think Kate maybe said, I have something. And
at that point you see Ryan going, hey, do you have – I got nothing.